is a multidisciplinary artist. Nearly cut my tongue with this English. Um, and I tell stories and history through creativity. And yeah, I love sharing stuff and information about Africa and especially Nigeria. And inside Nigeria is the Benin Kingdom. Love that place because that's my hometown. So I just have to tell everybody, like, did you know this or this? But yeah,
Fantastic. So, Benin is your hometown.
yeah,
Were you born there?
yeah.
How long did you like? When did you move to London, or like
Wow.
tell me about just a few bits growing up.
Well, okay, there's some private information, but basically I grew up in Benin and came to London when I was younger, but it wasn't like an easy journey. It wasn't a very smooth journey, or I don't know. Oh, that was really uncomfortable. Can we cancel that question?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, babe.
Like
Sorry.
too much trauma in my life, so.
I hear you. No, we're not gonna get into that. But you've basically lived in London for a few years.
Yeah, I've lived in London for a few years.
That's good.
When I was younger, mainly I was in Benin, but it was such a beautiful place. But maybe it's from a child's perspective, but everything was just, to me, perfect. So when I think about peace or being like somewhere happy, I always just think about home. Even sometimes I still dream about the place, but it wasn't easy over there. But at the same time, it was just, we had nothing, but it literally was the best of the best. And people would probably question me like, why would you want to go back to poverty? Why would you want to do this? But I don't know, it's just the richness in the community and the way people look after each other was something that I can't ever replace, or I can only strive to help others get a sense of that community and a sense of the love that random people will just show you out of nowhere. So
How would you sorry.
no, I would say that's it.
You mentioned that you still sometimes dream of like this like peace and freedom that
Oh
you
no, I mean
sometimes
like when I dream. You see how when you dream, like some people dream about like school or somewhere. Like I just dream that I'm at home and just like this place, but it's very interesting the type of dreams that I have, or like the way the architecture is set up. I don't know if that's interesting,
Right.
but yeah, my mind gets busy with it.
Could you go more into detail in like some of the disciplines that you just spent your time on like the things you work on? Mentioned that you were multidisciplinary. Is there anyone that you spend the most time on or focus your work around?
It's not any one particularly. It's actually a place particularly. So it's mainly still the Benin Kingdom. I guess there's like this sort of bittersweet. There's this bittersweet aspect of it, that there's still difficulty, and I know there is, like with me personally and my journey, and I know there's still quite a lot of pain that comes to that place, but that happiness and that sort of freedom and like just being a child, and nothing really was materialistic in a sense of like things that I wanted. I was just able to play and to create and to just be that. So within the work that I do, I try to create things for my peace. Is one of the things that actually make me feel at peace. So when I'm making things with my hand, or when I'm trying to tell a story, because like having to grow up with different sort of difficulties and different things, your brain works completely different to a lot of people, and I find it really easier to communicate through productivity. So that's why I also have a problem with like selling work, because I put so much into it, and like I'm breaking down different things, critically analyzing exactly this story that I'm trying to talk about, but words doesn't quite touch it. English language doesn't quite like explain what it is, so I need to visually show it to you, either through sound, through sculpture, through photography, or through something that I feel other people might have experienced, but I just don't know how to say it. So that's how the works are getting created. And when I share that with others and they're like, oh man, I feel that. So that literally satisfies me. And that's all I really want in life. I can work anywhere, you know, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, I mean, your work in general, it feels like your human experience, you know,
Yeah.
the things that you've gone through, that you in a way take it and code it and like transfigure it in the work you put out.
Yeah.
And something that people see.
Yeah.
And it's quite emotional as well. So sometimes, you know, when sometimes you feel certain things that you can't express,
Yeah.
but you have to feel.
Yeah.
How's the process of like starting the project? How's the process?
The process of, sorry,
yeah,
I'm just gonna
going-
switch this
oh,
off so
no.
it stops making noise.
I'm gonna interrupt you guys. Vegan or red?
Give me your water. And
Eh,
you know, the way she looks at me, is like, what is that? No, I don't drink.
the question is how the process of the work starts. So
Exactly.
I have this thing where if a lot of questions pop into my head, or like I'm going through something and it's just constantly, it just runs, I can't sleep, I can't do anything, I'm constantly thinking about this one thing, and I'm trying to break it down, and then I go like to the library and I start researching or like searching about these things. I get really obsessed with it, like crazy obsessed with it. And then from there on, you know, like I end up just sort of trying to explain those things verbally, or like putting things together to try and make this map of what I'm actually going on about, because my brain is currently going crazy. Oh, they said it's cool. Oh yeah?
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My brain is currently going crazy. So, and then I just start, sometimes I would even skip drawings and stuff and just go straight into
Just
making
go
it.
straight.
And when it's out, it's just like a, whew, all right. And then, but like artwork is never finished. There's also always like more stories to tell within that things, and you know, you're always creating. Like I'm literally always constantly creating. If there's, it can be like 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, I can't sleep, so I'm painting. That's what it is. That's it.
Thank you, Nibs. No, that's so amazing, because it seems like you create for yourself and like for your peace of mind.
Yo, I do.
love.
I really am not doing it for nobody.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you have, like, when you create or when you see the finished product, do you have like an audience in mind, or like a
Okay.
persona in mind, or you wanna?
I end up doing like, okay, so I'm a woman, like I'm in my body, you know, when I go through stuff, I'm not in my head being like, I'm the only person going through this shit, like I'm the only person feeling all this pain, or like I'm the only person who's like trying to figure out this shit. So when I do it to sort of you know, break down what's going on in my head, I'm actually doing it for other people as well, but they're just not like in my head at that moment controlling exactly what I'm doing. It's all about what I'm trying to feel and like what I'm saying, or like even like my graduation work, I was in bits. I was broken, man. I was like,
While doing it, after, like,
the whole damn thing.
Aw.
The whole thing, like I was feeling like one of the weakest, smallest thing ever. And I was watching a documentary of a female leopard trying to feed her children, and she went hunting, and then, like, you know, she was being beaten up and all sorts of things, but she had to get the food because the kids were hungry. And at the end of it, she was climbing up this tall tree because they put the kids at the top of the tree. She was climbing up this tall tree, and by the time she got up there and just dropped the food, she literally dropped like down and started, the kids just started yamming the food, like they were happy. And then, you know, just feeling like seeing that and reflecting on it and seeing how mothers everywhere, women, like we're going through so much, and just wake up the next day and like bam, I'm gonna get to work, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, like a lot of people have gone through a lot of things in life that has destroyed them mentally, and they're still healing and they're going through stuff, but every day definitely comes, the next day comes. Even like those who are struggling to actually make the next day come, like they are fighting that battles, they're climbing up that tree and they're making sure that they get up there and they get that rest, or they get something, or making sure that other people don't feel the way that they feel, in a sense. Like everyone like is fighting their own battles in different ways, and ways that you might not even know about. They might be your best friend, it might be someone right next to you, or like someone like next door to you that you're not in their brains, you don't know what they're fighting. So there's that spirit of the leopard, and especially in women, like especially how society makes us feel so small, but bro, we bring life. We create life.
Yeah.
We create life, and like everything out there is just like, especially in Africa, the way they treat women, I'm just like, we're so powerful, and everything around us just makes us.
Were you cold?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything around us just makes us feel like, so when I started making that work, I was just trying to give a representation of this metal and strong figure that young girls, young people can look at and be like, that's me, like I'm that strong, I'm that big, and I can actually rule the world no matter what I do. Like if I'm interested in this, I'm able to do that. And if I can I get a tissue, please? Yeah, so like so that's just how it's like being created. The leopard came first because after watching that documentary and then understanding and seeing how the people of Benin see the leopard. So like in
the
our
leopard that's part of your graduation.
Yeah, that part of the piece. So is the divinity and Ododo, which is the leopard. Ododo means red, and red is a color used to when people are going into the supreme world, or like they're doing voodoo and stuff like that. They use the color red for safety, and that's something most people don't know. But I'm nosy, so I like to find out.
That's good.
So like the leopard came first, and seeing how the Benin people reflect on the leopard, and when you greet the Abba, you greet him as the king. He's the home leopard. He's that spiritual being who is able to control, have that mindset of the leopard, or that attitude of a leopard, and he's the home leopard. He's greeted as the home leopard, even till today. But I just sort of had to look at how many women out there have had to go through so much in life, and they're the ones climbing up that tree, and they're the ones feeding their children. They're the ones doing everything, like absolutely everything, and they're really the ones who embody the spirit of the leopard, So that's how that went, and then divinity started being created. She just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. She was meant to be 7 foot tall. Then she was just growing. I was just like, I wanted it this big. I want to be able to see it like that. There was a point where I cried because I was like, I couldn't reach. I went up to David, who's the technician, and I was just like, I don't know. And like I wasn't crying exactly, but immediately he just looked at me in the eye. I just started crying. I was just like, oh my god!
Because
and he was like,
no,
because I didn't know how to make her that big. And he was just like, okay, we're gonna go get the crane. I was like, we've got a crane. He was like, yeah. And we started setting it up, and he was like, you can just roll it up, and then cut it in half. Start from the top, and then you attach the bottom, and then you go with it. And I was just like, okay, thank you. Like when I felt like I just couldn't make her as big as I wanted to make her, that really shut me down, because she, as small as I was feeling and as weak as I was feeling, I wanted it to be something that I know at some point in my life, I know that I am that, I do have that greatness, that I do want other women and young girls to see that and be like, yo, no matter how many things try to break you, you've got that body, like you've got that strength of the metal, and you are that powerful, and you can embrace anything and just keep fighting, just keep going through it.
It's amazing. Like how would you how would you describe your identity or your sense of self in relation to your creative identity and like the work you put out? Would you say
I don't know. I think when it comes, so the thing I found difficult in art school was the way art was being seen, like the gaze to it, because when I create, I don't really create it for a purpose of like I'm trying to be this big artist or I'm trying to grow into this specific thing. It's just like a thing in my head that's just bugging me, and it's just like, oh, you know, I'm not the only one feeling this right now. There's a lot of people doing it, and it just helps me break down whatever is just bugging me in my head, really, and I just bring it out to reality because, you know, there's different form of communication. We can't all speak, you know, like we can't all communicate through just one language. There's been several ways of communicating, and if my communication to the world is through art, that's what it is. And yeah, like I just don't want to get into the point of art being something that I'm, you know, chasing something with. It's actually something that brings me so much peace, and I wouldn't want to sacrifice that for anything, because there are days where it's really dark for me, and I just start making and just start creating, and that's me. But if I start sacrificing that for other things, I fear that, I know I'm shaking, but like I fear that I might not be able to have that safety, or like there wouldn't be anything that, you know, I'll start losing the sense of why I'm doing this and what I'm doing this for and who I'm doing this for, you know.
That's beautiful. It seems like, I mean, it sounds like it's so linked, like, to you, and that it's that your work is so linked to your sanity as well. Like,
yeah, it's just the only way. It's the best way I feel I am out there in the world. A lot of other things and a lot of other ways, I just don't feel like I connect that much with the world. But when I'm creating and I'm able to like send that message or like say exactly how I'm feeling, it's like that's my language. That's the way I want to speak to people. That's my thing, and that's why I said I can get any job. Like I'm not proud of like, oh, I'm to this. Nah, bruv, I can get any job. I'll be able to do anything. But like the art, the creating, the way like my hands, I use them to speak. I'm not sacrificing that for anything.
No, but that's perfect. And I feel like this capitalist society we live in, people people demand so much, and you almost feel like you have to give.
Yeah. It drains you out. It will drain you out, and you end up being like, oh, you know. And also part of, you know, my mental state is like I need to be in control. You know, I definitely know that, but like, you know, the art world, like not the art world itself, but like the things that I create or the things that I want to find out about or like share with people, you know, I feel a sense of control because I'm finding out so much information and I'm learning something, and I'm even able to translate it with my hands in no matter what medium that I want to, and I'm able to like think that way, and there isn't a teacher there being like, oh, that's not correct, that's not right, this is not this, and you know, all of that stuff. There isn't someone telling me that no, you can't do it like this. It's like, oh, you're a woman, you can't go up there. I'm just like, but what I'm trying to say needs me to go up there, needs me to climb up that ladder, needs me to use that machine. So what exactly are you saying? That's just how I want to speak.
That's perfect. I feel like having this sense of control also allows you to be critical towards these things.
Yeah.
Be critical, like who sets up these barriers, who decides and who determines how we think and feel, how we're supposed to look at these things.
Yeah.
And you're just saying no.
Yeah, it's like, this is what I'm giving, like, this is, you know, whoever connects with the work. If you don't, then you haven't walked that path yet, you know, and being able to critically analyze, like, a situation or something even if it's just like people questioning your hair every second, and you're just able to like, I'm not really out there trying to be like, why are you doing this? In my head, I'm just like, what has made you like this, and why is this so interesting to you? I need to find out historically, why is it that you're so fascinated by this thing? And then that goes into the books, that goes into like, you know, classing and just sort of like, you know, identity and fascination and investigation and things like that. And then that ends up, I'm just on the other side making work, whilst this one person is just there doing something that I really can't understand. The human behavior is really something strange to me, so I need to go break that down into art and like try and understand what's going on there.
Definitely. I mean, what's on your mind right now? I mean, just looking at the state we're in, looking at the state Nigeria's in. Like, what's on your mind right now, and how do you feel like you can communicate what's going on through your art? Have you thought about how you wanted to do that? If you want to do that,
It wouldn't really just come like that. It is right now, what I'm just sort of feeling is pain, but it's also something that if you were ever born in Nigeria, been to Nigeria, stayed in Nigeria, you understand that this is something that has been going on long before this. It's just because of in the age of like this generation Z that, you know, spread everything through the internet, which is amazing, because exposing the truth and like exposing what's actually happening in everywhere in Africa, then you then see that, you know, those people who have never stepped their foot back home or seen what's going on, or they've been visually being lied to online, and they think that this is what Africa is, or like this is exactly what's going on. No, like when you go back home, like the news that you're getting is being filtered so much. You know, if you start looking at music, start looking at art, start looking at the way people are telling you exactly what's going on in our hometown, as it has been going on for a long time, and the way they use fear to silence us, silence our parents, silence our grandfathers and everything, and people are just like mentally in pain, and they're just so used to being in pain. They're so used to knowing that whatever governmentship, wherever president that they get, that person's not going to look after them. You know, so like seeing the massacre that happened the other day, it was just like, you can't hide now. Like literally, you cope again to people that have lost it. Everyone is like, oh, just put your heart in God. God is coming, Jesus. So you know, someday it will come. It's like, actually, we're the ones that need to go save our people. You know, I'm not really a religious person, but I do understand when Moses' mother prayed for him to come back home and save his people, and he did. Even after he had all the gold, all the wealth, everything, he had to realize that there are people that he needs to save. No matter how much pain you get from the place, no matter how much like the place has hurt you, and how much you're scared to go back, you have to try. You have to try.
And that's something that is so, I feel like we really and truly have this sense of urgency now, especially when it comes to younger people, because I think the thing that is scariest is how adjusted we've become to injustice, how this is just how we're so comfortable, you know, like if it's people in power and also like the people who are exploited, we're so comfortable with the state to a point where it's just like, it is what it is. And you wouldn't even like question or do anything about it.
But we need to remember to feel as well. A lot of things in life will block us from feeling things, because you're just so used to people being killed, people not being like how are we so used to death?
And seeing death, especially.
And seeing death and just being like so cold about it. Like I'm I'm literally shaking, but I'm a very sensitive person, and even though it's not me, or like I believe that everybody, like I've got families all around, you can't really be my parents, or you can't really be from the same blood as me, but I believe that like we're all related in a way. There's no way that I'm rising and I know mentally that there are people hungry.
Exactly.
Like there's still children hungry, and there's still like so much pain. You know, there is like, when I have enough, I know I have enough, but I also know when to start giving, and when to actually like, okay, I'm not able to do this. I'm not able to help.
How do you think that this mindset that you have, this way of life that you have, how do you feel like we can communicate it in a way for people to join, for people to
It's
to
hard,
see the
man.
way things been done? Just because it's been that way doesn't mean it's right. How can
Yeah.
we show that to people?
I just feel like, you know, the saying, tiny drops of water could make a mighty ocean. We just have to keep sharing with people, and also communicating, verbally communicating. And people, like a lot of people in Nigeria are so numb to pain, because that's what you've been seeing around. That's what's always going in the news. Like you open your door in the morning and there could be blood everywhere because something happened at night. You know, you can be going, like driving down the road to drop your children at school, and there's like, oh, there's just been dead bodies around. Like especially in like the small states. Nigeria is such a huge place, and a lot of people think about like Lagos, or they think about Victoria Island, they think about, you know, like other big places. I'm just like, do you know how massive Nigeria is? There are people, there are people everywhere, and
No, it's crazy. I feel like,
it's just,
especially in the diaspora, some of these conversations have become so like privileged as well. When you
Yeah.
talk about the Leaky massacre, for example,
Yeah.
there were people that died in in many other parts of Nigeria as well, and sometimes the discourse wasn't on them.
yeah. And like, it's just, to be honest, yeah, I just feel like we need to start giving hope. We need to start helping. We need to actually, no matter, like literally I'm saying it because a lot of us are mentally scarred by what we've seen growing up, by what has happened around us, by, you know, being like, oh, we're in a point of safety now. Just remember that there are people who are still in the space that you were when you were scared. There are still people in the space that you were that when you were literally suffering or when you were hungry. Now that you've made it doesn't mean that you know, the hunger has stopped. Because it stopped for you doesn't mean it stopped for your brothers and sisters back home. Like, you know, it's not by blood. It's literally, it's just, yeah. I know, like, I'm super sensitive and I like to think about everyone all the time, but it's just because it comes from a place of pain. It comes from a place of knowing that, you know, there are other people still struggling right now.
But that's so important, and I feel like the sense of being able to empathize with other people, being able to put yourself in the shoes of other people, I feel like that's something that we've been lacking.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if we did those things, if you hurt someone and you think, yo, I'm hurting myself when I do this.
Yeah.
I'm hurting my sister here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like a lot of things wouldn't.
We need to all start
wouldn't go
thinking
this
like
way.
that.
Exactly.
You know? It's just like, yo, how does it feel for someone to not have this? Like when we start thinking about other privileges and other materialistic things that we want, not what we need. When you need something, that's life. That's like air. I need air. You know, when I want something, it's like, oh, I just want this because of this, or like, I just want this to, you know, we have to think about the difference between what we want and what we need.
Exactly.
And then just realize that there are people out there that it isn't all that for, and you would like, you know, just, yeah, like, even if there are days that I only eat a packet of noodles, I know that I've eaten that day, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the little. I'm very grateful for the safety. I'm very grateful for all of this stuff, but it gets hard just knowing it's, you know, this world is huge, and as much as I can do as I'm alive, I will do, you know, and I'll go through that pain just to make sure that no one else ever has to feel that way.
Again. And I hope that we can maybe make this a focus just in society. We see physical death. It's just bad enough, but
Mentally,
social
we need to help
death.
others to heal. Help
Exactly.
people to heal as well.
So if you were in a, like I feel like especially young people, we are in a position of power if
Yeah.
we unite. But if you were the leader of an organization
Yeah.
or the leader of a country even,
Yeah.
how would you start?
If I was the leader of a country,
The
president, if I was a president, I would literally, because of who I am, I would definitely start from the bottom all the way to the top, because like just looking at Nigeria in itself, apart from people being hungry everywhere, the roads are bad. The roads are bad and people are hungry. Like everyone wants to flee Nigeria, they just want to leave. But if everyone leaves, who's gonna take care of the land? And knowing, like through my art background, knowing how wealthy, knowing how talented, knowing how hardworking, knowing how our history is just absolutely, our history is just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's crazy. It's literally so crazy, and it's just something that I need to know from the bottom. From the bottom, you need to like see how people are living and how we'll be able to help, and also prioritize mental health, prioritize the fact that a lot of people have been struggling mentally. So like healthcare and through the education program, make sure that therapists and like just things are being put for the health of the people. And then food, look at the markets and our economy and like marketing and how we are trading things and how we're farming, agriculture, permaculture, how things are being done in the land first before we start anything outside. That's really
It's perfect.
what I want.
That sounds perfect, honestly, and I'm so glad that we talked about these things. I'm glad that we captured these things. And I feel like a lot of people can take something from that. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you. Because it's been all formal now. Ooh, like, did you? You have to cut that one out.
Cut that one out.